Hello and welcome everybody to this session on Oracle Analytics Cloud and Machine Learning. My name is Fredrik Bergström. I work as a Senior Solution Engineer based in Malaga, Spain. Up until this session, you have looked at machine learning from the perspective of the data scientist. The products you have seen so far would require real expertise and coding skills. In this session, we'll take the perspective of the business user. With machine learning in Oracle Analytics Cloud, a business user can undertake the full process of data science with no coding needed whatsoever. The idea is that the business users have a full self-service approach to machine learning without having to call for help from an expert. In other words, the idea is that the business user can make predictions, recommendations, and analyze what might happen in future scenarios in a self-sufficient way. We're going to be looking at the various flavors of machine learning that exist in the Analytics Cloud. And the first thing I would like to point out is the augmented analytics option. Let me show you this. Imagine that I am an HR analyst or an HR business user persona who gain access to a new data set, and I'm tasked with understanding attrition within this data set. There are two ways that I could do that. One way, which a lot of people do today, is experimenting with the data set, seeing different variations on how attrition correlates to the other columns. Another way, and this is the way within Oracle, is that we can leverage machine learning to see these insights without actually having to know anything about the data sets previously. Let me show you. So on the left-hand side, we see my data set, and you see that I've selected attrition. By right-clicking attrition, I can choose Explain Attrition. This will leverage the machine learning capabilities in OAC and give me in the beginning here, you see some basic facts about attrition. But let's say I want to look at the key drivers for attrition. So that is really how attrition correlates to the different columns that I have in the data set. So you can see, for example, the attrition for the termination reasons, for the different countries that we are operating in. I can see things like marital status and so forth. So just by right-clicking, I can get various amounts of visualizations on a data set that I'm completely new to. And let's say I want to start working with this, and I think that, for example, my attrition correlating to my different countries is interesting to me. All I need to do is select the little tick bar up on the right corner and add selected. This will include this visualization onto my canvas, and I can now start working on my visualization project from a starting point that I understand, because I have a good now overview of how attrition correlates to my data. Another way of leveraging machine learning within the Oracle Analytics Cloud is what we call the Contextual Advanced Analytics, or right-click machine learning, or drag-and-drop machine learning, however way you want to call it. This is methods that we can leverage to, for example, predict or forecast something. So imagine that, for example, I have some corporate data. So, for example, data coming from my data model or subject area. So I'm going to select the subject area sample up here. We have different columns here relating to profit, for example, and it could be interesting for me to understand my profit value and see it over time. So I'm going to select profit value and month. Doing so, all I need to do after is drag and dropping it onto the empty canvas. This gives me a visualization on how my profit value have evolved from 2012 January to 2013 December. But imagine I want to understand the following quarter. So two ways that I can actually do this is I could go to the data scientist, I could ask them to build me a comprehensive model that I could include within Oracle Analytics Cloud to see these results. Or I can leverage the inbuilt advanced analytics and basically do this forecasting myself. So if I go on the left-hand side and I click Analytics, I see Overlay and Projections. Here I have something called Forecast. All I need to do is pull this value out to the end of my current visualization, and this will give me a forecast. As you can see now, I see the next following quarter very clearly how it might evolve. I can also leverage other methods such as trend line to see if my overall trend is positive or negative. And as you can see, I have a positive upgoing trend, which kind of gives me the idea that the forecast is probably in line with what will happen. Moving on to the third thing is something we call machine learning model design and apply, or Oracle machine learning data flows actually. So let me show you how you can leverage data flows to come up to new insights and create your own models for machine learning. So doing so, what I need to do is that I need to start a new data flow project. So going back to the home screen, I click Create, and you can see that I have my data flows under the Create button. So I'm just going to click Create, and we're going to use the same data set as we used to look at attrition, so my demo HR. On the left-hand side, you see the different data flow steps that I can leverage in the data flow process to basically transform my data. And you can see at the bottom, I have different categories for machine learning, like train numeric prediction, train multi-classifiers, train clustering, train binary classifiers, as well as analyze sentiment. And imagine as me as an HR analyst, I want to understand attrition. And let's say that everyone that leaves our company, they have to give us feedback as to why. This list of data or list of feedback can quickly grow very large. So understanding this in the grand scheme of things can be very difficult. You could either read through all the feedback and try to make up your own mind if it's positive, neutral, or negative, or you can leverage machine learning to help you understand it. So as you can see here, I have a column in my demo HR dataset that is called feedback. And I can leverage my analyze sentiment to understand all of these feedback rows. So clicking the plus sign, I see all the methods that I can include for my data set. For example, all the categories that we spoke about, they actually contain pre-built algorithms that you can leverage directly within the data flow or model development process without actually having to know anything about the algorithms themselves. So let me show you how you can make a data flow to analyze sentiment. I click the sentiment method, and the only thing I need to do as a business user is look at the parameters below that it asks me to fill in. And as you can see, the only thing it asks me for is text to analyze and select a column. So we know that we have a feedback column, so I'm just going to select that. Once this is selected, I just need to add a new step to save my data. And I can choose actually if I want to save the data to this data set storage or to a database connection. And as for example, I like to work with the autonomous data warehouse when I do analytics. So I select my autonomous data warehouse connection. This can also help me if I'm collaborating with others that wants to pick up my output in their own projects, right? So saving this will make we'll save it to my autonomous data warehouse, and we'll create an output for the sentiment based on the feedback column that I've selected. So imagine that I come into my new project and I want to now be able to see the results of my output that I was doing in my data flow. So you see here that I have my column sentiment analysis that has been created for me by the machine learning. I also can look at this, for example, with employee count to see, for example, how many of my employees are negative, positive, and neutral. So I can actually just select these two values together. I can pull them into the canvas to see this result. And as you can see, I get a summary of my different employee count that has handed off feedback to us. And I can see that I have 75 that has been classified as negative. I have 193 that's been classified as neutral. And I have 253 that's been classified as positive. This actually gives me a very clear overview over the text or the feedback that has been provided to our company without having to read through all of it. Of course, within the neutral field, we might have some that we would perceive as negative or positive, but if the solution doesn't want to can classify it with 100% accuracy, we will place it in neutral. So it gives us a good idea of the situation. To summarize, Oracle Analytics Cloud covers the whole data science process, and all of it can be operated by a business user without needing data science expertise. But there is more. You can also use Analytics Cloud to let business users and expert data scientists collaborate. Imagine a scenario in which a data scientist uses Oracle Analytics Cloud to do the data loading and preparation stage of this process. This can actually be more intuitive and more productive than doing it with Python. And after that, he can continue building his model with the data science service. Yet another scenario is model evaluation. In this case, a data scientist creates predictions with his expert tools and then hands over the results of that to the business user in Analytics Cloud, to let the business user evaluate the result, to check that the results are what he thinks he should be getting. So you see, there's a two-way street. In this sense, Oracle Analytics Cloud lets people with different skill sets collaborate. It really integrates these different worlds in the data science process. Thank you, and good luck with your lab.